Hey, it's Derek Applegate here. Hey, today I wanted to do a short video on fear, uh, specifically about being fearless versus being fear-proof. I've seen a lot of coaches talk about being fearless, living life without fear. And part of me thinks, that'd be a great idea, but there's another part of me that's like, is that going to really happen? And so for me, I like the idea of being fear-proof. And I'm going to try to explain the difference between the two. Now, first off, fear, there really is only two fears that we have in life that are innate and that we are actually born with, according to the developmental psychologist. And the one is fear of falling. And the second is the fear associated with loud noises. And those two fears are pretty much for our survival. Gravity does take a part in our life. So, of course, the fear of falling and loud noises are more of a warning system for us to prep us in case of danger. Hearing the bushes growling, there might be a tiger in that bush. So our ancestors kind of needed that to survive. Now, besides those two fears, everything else is learned. Everything else is basically an illusion of the mind. If you look at fear as an acronym, it actually stands for false evidence that appears real. So to be fear-proof, to me, is more of an understanding of really where fear comes from and what fear is. So we're not going to talk about the innate fears of falling or loud noises, or the fear that happens when our life is threatened. But I'm going to talk about everything else. That really what that fear is that stops us. Some of the coaching that I've done with people, I've done a lot of coaching with sales forces, and a lot of the salespeople that I talk to end up having thing that stops them from doing stuff is fear. The fear of criticism, the fear of rejection, the fear of whether or not they're going to be able to make the sale. And it's amazing on how much that is on their minds that it actually stops them from just having the conversation with the people that they need to have the conversation with. In my own life, I think of the fears that I've had that have stopped me from really enjoying my life to the fullest. But there was one time in my life that I felt that I had to become fearless, get rid of those fears. And I realized later on that that's really not the point. The point is really understanding where fear comes from. And that's where being fear-proof comes to play for me. And being fear-proof is really actually understanding that it is that false evidence that appears real. It's like President Roosevelt said in his famous speech, the only thing that we need to fear is fear itself. So there's a lot of people that go out and do coaching and techniques and strategies on how to overcome fear. But for me, I want to just point to you of really what fear is. And fear really is just an emotion. It is a feeling. And when you understand that they're feelings, as those of you who have taken some of my courses before, you know that all a feeling is just telling you where your thinking is in the moment. So feelings are an expression of thought. We feel our thinking. That's all it is. So when we have fearful thoughts, it's not telling us anything other than we have fearful thoughts. And it's okay to have them, because when we understand the nature of thought and how, as a principle, thought is just arbitrary. It's random, it's free-flowing, and it's illusionary. And so the idea that, I have these fearful thoughts, I got to do something about them, well, they're just thoughts. and a new thought's going to come along real shortly. So you really don't need to worry about the actual thought or try to change the thought. It just will change on its own. So there is that term, feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, for me, it's fear is an illusion, so just do it anyway. One of the stories I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I like the story, so I'll tell it to you. But there was a reporter who was interviewing Bruce Springsteen. And he asked Bruce, he said, do you ever feel stage fright when you're getting ready to perform? And Bruce said, oh, no, I don't feel any stage fright at all. And so the reporter said, well, what do you feel? I mean, what's it like? And Bruce said, well, I get ready to perform, and all of a sudden I feel my hands starting to kind of clam up and sweat, and my heart starts racing, and I start getting butterflies in my stomach, and I'm just my mouth starts to dry out, and then I just go out and perform. And the reporter was kind of puzzled, and he looked at him and goes, well, you just explained stage fright. And Bruce, without missing a beat, goes, no, that's excitement. See, sometimes how we think about fear and how we think about the circumstance will determine on what our experience is. And I think the biggest time in my life that fear has taken over my life is when I think that circumstance is where my experience of life comes from. The more I live in an outside-in concept of life, the more fear I feel. When I realize that it's an inside-out life, the less fear I feel. And the more that I realize that fear is just a feeling, which all it does is tell me where my thinking is in the moment. And I don't have to be scared of the fearful thought because it's just thought. And the nature of thought is that it will change. I don't have to do anything to overcome fear because fear's just a thought, and thought changes. It's like when I do these videos now, I had a lot of angst and, oh my gosh, what should I do? Then I just realized it's just thought. Do it anyway. And the more I do, the more comfortable I get by doing. It's kind of funny how that thing works. So what I want to leave with you today is think about fear as just a thought, and it will pass because thoughts change. And realize that it really does come down to your well-being. There's nothing that's going to take away from your well-being. It's innate also. So fear, it's an illusion. It's temporary. It's just a feeling, which is actually just a thought. So have the thought, do it anyway. And you don't have to overcome fear. You just don't have to let it stop you. And who cares if you feel fear? You know it's going to pass. Just do what you need to do to take care of your life. Hey, nothing to be afraid of except for fear itself. Hey, thanks a lot. This is Derek Applegate from Beyond How To Consulting. Talk to you later. Bye.